Now let us turn our story to Benjamin Sleep, the lion killer. His story begins with abandonment. Deep in the untamed wilds of Africa, in a remote region far from any village or road, a newborn baby was left to die. His family, for reasons lost to time, wrapped him in rags and placed him in the tall grass, never to return. Most infants would not have survived the night, but this one refused to die. A pride of lions discovered the tiny, crying bundle. The lionesses approached cautiously, then something shifted. Instead of tearing him apart, they took pity on the helpless creature. One of the females gently carried him back to the pride. Against every law of nature, they raised him as one of their own. For 14 years, Benjamin Sleep lived as a lion. He learned to hunt with the pride, to move silently through the grass, to understand the language of growls, roars, and body language. The lions became his only family. They protected him. They taught him survival. In many ways, he was one of them, wild, fierce, and untamed. But he was never truly a lion. As he grew into a teenager, something dark began to stir inside him. A human hunger, a human rage, a growing awareness that he was different, an outsider wearing the skin of the pride. One fateful night, under a blood-red moon, that darkness finally consumed him. Benjamin turned on the only family he had ever known. With nothing but his bare hands, stolen claws, and primal fury, he slaughtered them. The screams of the lions he once called brothers and mothers echoed across the savannah. When the massacre ended, the ground was soaked in blood. Benjamin stood alone among the corpses, breathing heavily, covered in the blood of his pride. He skinned them. He fashioned their pelts into crude clothing and cloaks. He turned their fangs and bones into weapons and jewelry. That night, the boy who was raised by lions died. In his place rose something far more dangerous, a hunter of hunters, a killer without mercy. Word of the demon boy, who massacred an entire lion pride, began to spread through remote villages and poaching networks. By the time he was 17, Benjamin Sleep had already become a legend among the underworld, a ruthless tracker and poacher who could hunt anything, anywhere, and never failed. His skills were unmatched. His ruthlessness was absolute. It wasn't long before certain powerful people took notice. One day, while skinning a rare black maned lion he had just killed, Benjamin was approached by a group of military recruiters. They had heard the stories. They had seen what he could do. They offered him a new life, one where his talents could be put to official use. Benjamin Sleep looked at the men, then at the bloody carcass in front of him. He smiled. The military found him exactly where legends said he would be, deep in the African bush, surrounded by fresh kills. They offered him a deal, join them, and they would give him purpose, training, resources, and money. Benjamin Sleep didn't care about any of that. He simply wanted new prey. He accepted. They called him Sleep, a name that would soon become feared in Black Ops circles. During elite special forces training, he met Connor McCarthy, a disciplined, ambitious young officer with ice in his veins. From the first day, a rivalry was born. Connor was the golden boy, perfect scores, natural leadership, followed the rules. Benjamin was chaos incarnate, broke every rule, disobeyed orders when he felt like it, and still came out on top. No matter how hard Connor trained, no matter how perfectly he planned, Benjamin Sleep always won. In simulated missions, in live-fire exercises, in hand-to-hand combat. Benjamin didn't just beat him, he humiliated him. But Connor never stopped trying. It was during Operation Blackthorn that their rivalry reached its peak during a classified operation in Central Africa. The mission was simple on paper: extract a high-value target from a warlord's compound. It went wrong almost immediately. The team was ambushed. Half the unit was pinned down under heavy fire. Connor was trapped in a burning building with shrapnel in his leg, seconds away from death. Benjamin Sleep should have followed the extraction order. Instead, he went back in alone. He tore through enemy fighters like a demon, silent, ruthless, unstoppable. He dragged a wounded Connor out of the flames while the rest of the team provided cover fire. When they made it to the rendezvous, Connor looked up at him, breathing hard. "Why did you come back for me?" Benjamin just stared at him with cold eyes. "Because I wasn't done beating you yet." Benjamin Sleep's military career ended the way it began, with disobedience. During a mission in the Horn of Africa, his superiors ordered him to stand down and let a group of child soldiers escape. Benjamin refused. He slaughtered them all without hesitation. The brass called it a war crime. He called it Tuesday. They gave him a dishonorable discharge and tried to bury him. But you can't bury something that was never truly human. He returned to Africa, back in the wilds that raised him. Benjamin Sleep became something far worse than a soldier. He became a ghost. He built his iconic suit from pieces of his past. The tattered white blanket he was abandoned in as a baby became the mask he wears. Tiger pelts and thick elephant skin formed the outer shell of his coat, tough, intimidating, and symbolic. A massive rhino horn was mounted on his left shoulder like a trophy. A long, venomous snake was preserved and turned into his belt. When he wore it, he looked like death itself walking out of the jungle. He became one of the most sought-after mercenaries and poachers in the world. Governments, warlords, corporations, they all paid top dollar for his services. He hunted men, animals, and legends with equal indifference. And then one day, he hunted the people who had abandoned him as a baby. He found them living in a small village. They had never spoken of the child they left to die. When Benjamin Sleep stepped out of the darkness wearing the skins of the lions they once feared, they finally understood what they had created. He killed them slowly. No words were spoken, only silence and blood. After his dishonorable discharge, Benjamin Sleep vanished back into the African wilderness. He didn't need governments. He didn't need flags. He only needed money and the hunt. Word of the white-masked hunter spread like wildfire across the dark underworld. Warlords, corporations, rival governments, and private billionaires all sought him out. Sleep took the jobs no one else would touch. He hunted war criminals in the Congo, assassinated corrupt officials in South Africa, tracked down entire smuggling rings in the Sahara, and poached species so rare they were believed extinct. He followed one rule and one rule only: the highest bidder wins. The money was obscene with it. He built a hidden empire in the shadows of Africa, a fortified compound deep in the bush where he stored trophies from man and beast alike. For years he lived like this, a ghost, a legend, a predator at the very top of the food chain. Then the world changed. Jekyll juice flooded the streets. Ordinary people began mutating into superhumans, monsters, and freaks. Heroes and villains rose overnight. Chaos erupted across the globe. Benjamin Sleep watched the news from his compound with complete disinterest. Powered freaks, glowing energy drinks, costumed idiots fighting in the streets. None of it mattered to him. He kept taking contracts the old-fashioned way, steel, bullets, and blood, until one encrypted call changed everything. His satellite phone rang while he was sharpening a blade made from a lion's femur. The voice on the other end was cold, professional, and instantly familiar. "Benjamin, it's Connor." Sleep leaned back in his chair, a slow, predatory smile forming behind his white mask. "Been a long time, golden boy." Connor got straight to the point. He explained the situation in America. Captain Tougharm, a nearly invincible alien superhero who had become the biggest threat to order. The man-made angels needed him gone. "I want you to hunt him down," Connor said, "and if the opportunity presents itself, kill him." Benjamin Sleep listened quietly as Connor described Tougharm's power, speed, and near indestructibility. Most men would have hesitated. Sleep felt something he hadn't felt in years: genuine excitement. This wasn't just prey. This was a worthy prey, a cunning, godlike predator at the top of the food chain. "I'll do it," Sleep said calmly, "and I would have done it for free, but since you're offering payment, make it worth my while." Connor named a number that would have made most mercenaries retire for life. Sleep simply replied, "I'll be in America within the week." Benjamin Sleep packed his signature gear, the white blanket lining, tiger and elephant skin coat, rhino horn pauldron, and snakeskin belt. He boarded a private cargo plane and vanished into the night. When he arrived in America, he didn't announce himself. He didn't join any team. He simply disappeared into the shadows and began to study his target. He watched Captain Tougharm from rooftops, from forests, from miles away through high-powered scopes. He learned the hero's movements, his habits, his moments of weakness. Benjamin Sleep was in no rush. He was a patient predator. And somewhere out there, the strongest being on Earth had no idea that the deadliest hunter alive had just entered the game.